Well, welcome to Marshall Adams from Better Call Saul on our 2020 Emmy Contenders Cinematographers panel today. Marshall, let's talk about your episode that you're submitting to the Emmy judges from the cinematography branch, one of the most acclaimed episodes of the entire series. It's called Bagman. Tell us why you chose that one.
Mostly because of the production value and the amount of TLC that we got to put into it. We got quite a bit because it was Vince's episode. We got a little bit of extra time and really and working with Vince is just such an amazing experience. He's just incredible. So it actually was a tough choice because there's some great episodes in there, but that one far and away really was kind of above the rest. So
well, you have the beautiful landscape shots out in the desert with the scene between Jimmy and Mike. When you're doing something on location like that, well, the whole series pretty much is on location, but especially a desert kind of a location, is that limit you more in terms of what your options are as a director of photography, or give you even more options?
well, I mean, I think it gives me even more options and on some level. I mean, it's hard to point the camera at something you don't love. We obviously try to tailor the day so that we aren't in front light with the sun as much as we can. But other than that, when we shot that episode happened to be right in the middle of the summer, which is a fantastic time to get all the cloud formations and the thunderstorms kind of forming on the horizons and stuff like that, which really does a lot for the skies. So it's pretty tough to see something you don't like.
All throughout the series, it almost feels like a modern Western. What kind of things do you do to give us that feel watching it at home?
I think we steal some of those Leone angles occasionally, and I think that's all by design. I think Breaking Bad was our sister show, future lead-in show, except the other way around. I guess we're the prequel, but Vince really kind of went for that look early on, kind of brought it to Breaking Bad, much wider, grander, kind of more of a feature style look that lends itself to lots of really interesting and fun angles. And especially, when we're doing those face-offs, it's hard not to steal from the old Western, especially with the surroundings and stuff like that.
We just had Peter Gould on an interview a few days ago, and he said one of his favorite shots, maybe his favorite shot ever on the series, was a shot from this episode where Jimmy's taking that drink of urine.
Yeah.
What? Tell us about, from your perspective, how you wanted to shoot that.
Well, I mean, it was the end of it was kind of the last shot of the show. It was the end of a long sequence where he's been dealing with the fact. And he starts out by cleaning mud off of his shoes with the water bottle and wastes a bunch of it, but and he finally gets to this point where he realizes he's just going to have to swallow it and keep on marching forward. But so that was kind of the important thing. I mean, the fact that it was the final shot of the show, or darn close to it. And, to really see not only his face in reaction, but kind of where he was headed, and that he was so determined now for the first time kind of in the episode.
The episode's focused around, or at least those scenes around Mike and Jimmy, but it almost feels like Chuck is a third person, even though he's long gone. And you've got that shot of the blanket on the ground. What did that signify to you?
Well, I mean, for everybody, it was a connection, obviously, back to Chuck. I mean, Mike has no idea, I don't think, but certainly Jimmy does, which is obviously why he refused it. But it was, Michael's kind of with us a lot on that show. He was so important in kind of building Jimmy's character and the way that Jimmy kind of handles the world and takes in people, and that feeling his presence is really important. And he's such a good actor and such a pleasure to watch that you can just imagine Jimmy's reaction to that almost coming from him directly.
We also talked to Melissa Bernstein recently. We've been chatting with a lot of people on your show,
and
we do every season. She said, from her perspective as one of the producers and working on the show, she loves it when every single shot could almost be its own poster. What would you say to that, since you're the one shooting it?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard other people say that, we're very lucky in the surroundings that we have. Like you said, we've got nature to look at, and the storytelling and the scripts are so phenomenal that you just can't go wrong. So that's, that's our big rule, that it's always got to be about the storytelling. So even if you're out of an idea, if you don't have a specific idea, or the shot that you're trying to set up necessarily isn't working, we always go back to the script and think about where the script is, where the story is, and how we can help it along. The other thing too is that, with the support of Peter and Vince, we have the entitlement to be able to be as wide as we want to, as much as we want to, it's a luxury that you don't often have. So it's really about the storytelling, and that allows us to really generate some of those fantastic frames.
When you first started discussing this show, what were the considerations you wanted or discussed about making this one feel and look a little different than Breaking Bad?
Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, that had kind of already been done. I didn't shoot the first 2 seasons. It was Arthur Albert, and he just did a fantastic job. Big shoes to fill. So they had really talked in depth, he and Peter and Vince, about where the show was going visually and how it was going to be much more kind of landed and locked to the ground and much more deliberate. So that had kind of been done. I mean, we definitely went a lot darker in the seasons that I've been around, as the story kind of does, and it's driving us kind of into a darker place. So I've been able to kind of help that come along. But for the most part, visually, and I have the luxury of having the same camera operator that was with Arthur in season 2, is phenomenal, Paul Donacci. So between he and my B camera operator, Matt Cradle, they're is responsible for those frames as I am.
I want to ask about a couple of the cast members. Not only is Bob Odenkirk the first person on the call sheet, but he's one of your producers as well. What does he bring to this role when you're shooting him and seeing those scenes?
He always brings an interesting idea and an interesting angle. I can read the script and I can imagine Bob in the character, and I'm always wrong as to what his choices are going to be, which is always, which is what kind of makes it, he and Ray both, it's so refreshing and fun to watch. But even visually, he has some ideas now and then of kind of what he thinks the scene means, and how visually it would, it feels like it would be interesting to see it. So, oftentimes we try new stuff. Anytime he's got an idea, we love to try something that he's got, because, he's so versed at, and so we've done so many of the jobs on the set that Bob knows a lot.
Well, you mentioned Rhea Seehorn. Her role has expanded so much over the years, and we're all hoping she finally gets that Emmy nomination she deserves this year. What is she like for you to work with?
Oh, she's phenomenal. One of the sweetest human beings you've ever come across. Just an absolute pleasure. A real professional, always there. She and Bob rehearse quite a bit outside of the set, so they know the scenes really well. They both stay in Albuquerque quite a bit, almost exclusively while we're shooting. So they're well versed in the script, the story, where it's going, where it's coming from, what the details are, and man, it's just amazing to watch. Just amazing to watch.
It's a large cast, but I was just going to ask about one other person. The only person ever nominated for drama supporting actor for 3 different shows is Jonathan Banks, and you've got that veteran presence on the set. Tell us more about working with him.
Oh, he's a bit of a curmudgeon, but in a loving way. I mean, knows everybody on the set, knows the names of their entire family and what they've been up to. I mean, he's a very personable, sweet guy, and obviously an incredible veteran. I mean, he's been around a long time. But when Jonathan's around, you don't dilly dally. You make sure you get it done for him and keep on trucking. That's what made Bagman also such a challenge for all of us, I think, because it was so much of Bob and Jonathan that and out in the desert, and it was above 100 degrees out there. We were out in Tahajali on the reservation out there, so it had some serious challenges, but boy, they were just amazing.
One final question. You've got, all of you have the end of this show in your sights now that the 5th season has aired. I know you can't say, but do you know how it's going to end?
No. They don't share any of that stuff with me. I get to read it along with everybody else on the set. I've been working in this industry a long time in TV for quite a lot of it. And I've never been on a show before where the moment the scripts come out, whether it's electronically or physically, everybody on stage, if they have a minute, sits down and reads them. And everybody in every department knows exactly what's going on in the story at all times, which is, it's a real pleasure. I mean, you know, that town is full of some real pros, but man, oh man, it's such a pleasure to be able to work on such an amazing show, and so well written, so well crafted, and really well thought out.